Ladies and gentlemen, The Penguin is the Batman spin off series you've been looking for, you've been waiting for. This is how you do it. Not like Joker, not like fucking shit piece of crap Gotham, which ran for far too many seasons. God, I hate that show so much. But The Penguin, which is the new HBO series, set a week after the events of Matt Reeves' Batman, is exactly what I was looking for. I was watching the first episode, Bahir, and I couldn't put my finger on what it was because it was a little bit like The Long Halloween. It was a little bit like The Sopranos. It kind of took all of the elements that we love from the detective crime side of Batman and put it onto this character, which is just so amazingly portrayed by Colin Farrell. Like, he is so good in this. He is so watchable. There is so much confidence by Lauren LaFranc, the creator of this show, in how she is so content in giving us sequences, long extended sequences where it's just two people talking about stuff. Ah, I was so happy watching this.
Oh, yeah. For me, the one thing that you said there that really perked up my ears was that the Penguin is like the Sopranos. It's not about big picture superhero. It's just about this one guy, the Penguin. And remember, if you hadn't seen the Batman in a long time, the Penguin is not quite the villain yet. This is still him under the thumb of the Maronis, right? He's not quite the big gun yet.
He's an underboss.
And I think to focus on just that was a really good decision because we now get to play in a Gotham where the Penguin is trying to pick up.
And I think that's what is nice about these TV spin-offs, right? When it's done properly, because you have the movies and you have the big picture Batman stuff happening. The wall is blown up and the city is flooded and it's a post-apocalyptic thing and all of this stuff is happening because the big villains are doing big things. But then what happens in between those moments, in between the Batman and the Batman 2, what happens in Gotham? And this gives you a real gritty, on-the-ground look of Oscorp. His nightclub's a fucking mess. There is a new Don in town, and he's just trying to find his way and possibly sweet talk his way to the top. Like, I loved the depiction of this Penguin.
Yeah.
Every time he is caught in a situation, every time he is caught out, every time he kena kantoi, he comes back with this most awesome gaslighting, and it's just brilliant. Like, the first time he's with Falcone's son, and then he's with Falcone's daughter, and both times you're just like, motherfucker, you are good.
He's just playing the numbers, you know what I mean?
He's
I love
so
that,
good.
yeah.
It's like his brain is always working because that's all he has, right? He's a cripple. Nobody looks at him with any respect. Alberto Falcone is making fun of him in the beginning of the show, and like, all he has is his wits.
I want to see the Penguin build his family, build his empire. That's what I'm signed up for. And I think what they've done so far is really interesting and exciting.
The look of the show is absolutely fantastic. The production value is amazing. It channels everything that we saw in Matt Reeves' The Batman, and it doesn't feel like a cheap carbon copy.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like those 3D animated versions of the high-end cartoons we see in the cinemas.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This one feels like it's very much a part of that world, and the direction is amazing. It's directed by Craig Zobel. Craig Zobel did the first 3 episodes, and Craig Zobel did Mayor of Easttown. He did Westworld, Leftovers, American Gods. He's done a lot of stuff for HBO, and I didn't realize this before, but Craig Zobel was also, and this is nuts, one of the co-creators. Do you remember the online animated show Homestar Runner?
Oh,
With short shorts, like
Yeah.
flash animation almost. He was one of the co-creators of that.
Wow.
I used to watch that like 20 years ago. It used to be nuts. And it's crazy. So now he's out here doing some very, very good work. And I think the way he creates tension in the show without the Batman is very, very reminiscent of how Ed Brubaker used to do it in the Gotham PD comics,
Oh, right.
in the
Okay.
Gotham
Yeah, yeah.
Central comics. Like, Batman's presence is there even though you do not see him. You know it is Gotham.
Yeah.
And his presence is there and he is looming above it all. But the reality is, the criminals know he can't be everywhere all at once. And so they don't really give a shit about the Batman.
See, for me, I buy that world because for me, it's this thing of like, the Batman has just shown up. People don't even know to call him the Batman yet. So don't think about that opening sequence in the first Batman with Michael Keaton where the villains are, pissing themselves because they see a shadow in the back. They don't know who this guy is yet, right? So I like the idea that the thugs and the gangs are still just like, oh, it's just one weirdo in a BDSM costume.
Correct.
It's okay. We can get through this, right? So the fear hasn't quite struck Gotham yet. My only note would be that I hope over the course of however episodes this miniseries is, we get some inkling of the Batman, right? Oswald mentions about somebody else having been caught by this crazy guy. This is the problem with the Marvel universe when nobody acknowledges some world-ending thing that happened in a different film
Last week.
So it's like, look, I get that the Ant-Man's in the Quantumania and blah 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 and all that stuff, but how is nobody talking about that eternal hand that just showed up out of the ocean?
Yeah.
So for me, I think if the Penguin can, I don't even need to see the Batman, but if they can acknowledge that the Batman is around town doing stuff to other people, I'd be happy.
It's this weird catch-22 that they find themselves in, right? Because Marvel doesn't want to do that because then it could potentially put off people who haven't seen the other stuff because then it's a problem. However, I feel we've gone way past that point given how interconnected the universe is. Just lean into it.
The Ant-Man doesn't have to solve the problem with the Eternal's hand, but he has to acknowledge that it's there.
And DC is famous for not doing this. But I think the new regime might change things because of its level of interconnectivity. Like DC in the past has always been, we're embarrassed by television, so no Superman on TV or no Batman on TV. That's why the stupid Gotham series couldn't have Batman in a costume until the very last episode, and then it looked like a really cheap cosplay costume.
Yeah.
Which was terrible. It was the same with Smallville. No Superman costume until the very, very last episode because they were so embarrassed by TV being lesser somehow.
Yeah.
I think everyone's kind of gone past that. And I think a lot of that has to do with the Arrowverse.
Yeah.
Credit due to the Arrowverse for changing DC without even knowing it.
In the opening minutes of the Penguin TV show, they played sequences from the film. So they're obviously not shying away from it.
And I thought that was a very quick and efficient way of doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We see the Penguin standing in the window of his office at his nightclub, the camera slowly panning in, and we just hear news reports of what has happened, and we see some sequences of the city looking in complete disarray. That's it.
That's enough. That's what we want, right? Like the Batman isn't going to be giving camera interviews. So of course he would have disappeared. But I think that it would be nice if Oz, in his adventures throughout the course of the show, hears about or is talking about this specter over all of them that is the Batman.
This one is an 8-episode series, and I'm assuming, after watching the first episode, that it's going to chronicle his rise to power and then potentially move into Batman 2, which is supposed to come out in 2026. I'm not sure what other spin-off series there are, but there are plans for them because Matt Reeves has spoken about what is called the Batman Epic Crime Saga, which is separate from what James Gunn is doing. I quite like that is the case because that's what happens in the comics. I'm totally fine with it. We have a nice little sub-storyline, sub-universe happening here, and that is great.
Yeah.
And if this is a sign of the quality of what's to come, then I am super excited. I mean, everyone here is playing at the top of their game.
Despite Zaslav trying his utmost best to ruin everything, there's just enough at HBO and Warner Brothers to just avoid his shitty fingers. There was every chance that that Dune Prophecy TV show was gonna be terrible, but it looks fantastic. The Penguin looks great.
But there is still some weirdness happening, right? Because the Penguin was supposed to be a Max original. Now it's HBO. I don't know what any of this means.
Yeah, I don't think anybody does.
And then I think Dune might be the same. I think Dune was supposed to be a Max original. Now it has the HBO logo, or it's been moved into the HBO arena. I'm assuming all of this just has to do with accounting. That's all I can think of. I don't know if it has any real impact on the show itself. And I think that's why Jean Smart made that joke when she was accepting her Emmy. She goes, "Oh, I would like to thank HBO Max. I mean, HBO. I mean, Max. I mean, who knows? That's what we needed, right? Another network." And I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like in the intervening years, HBO has sort of, I won't say they've dropped the moniker of Max. Max is the streaming service, HBO is the one on TV, but they're all under the HBO brand. So the shows are all HBO shows. They're no longer Max exclusives that are just only on the streaming and not on the TV. I think that was stupid. They really fucked themselves up in the foot there. Just seemed dumb.
The other thing that I really loved about the Penguin is Kristen Milotti.
I was just going to
She's
say.
playing a role that I have never seen her play before. And she is great. She's Carmine's daughter. She's a psychopathic serial killer. She's in Arkham Asylum. She's just been released from Arkham. And she's basically trying to take over the family business. And Oz is in her way. And there is this very subtle heat-like confrontation between them. It's still very much a Cold War, but it's a very interesting one because she doesn't know what he's up to and he is trying to play the hell out of her.
It feels like he is trying to keep her at arm's length because he knows something that she doesn't, while at the same time trying to see how he can use Sofia Falcone's character. Oz is trying to keep his secrets close, but at the same time not piss off Sofia too much because she's psycho.
Sofia Falcone first appeared in The Long Halloween as the Hangman. And I'm not sure how much inspiration they're going to take from that comic book. Although, much like the Batman, it could just be mood and vibes and not a direct inspiration, which is fine.
But man, she's great. You're right. I'd never seen her play this character. She's equally scary, charming, but also crazy.
And then Colin Farrell, like, just everything from The Walk.
Yeah.
The Walk is so fucking good.
Yeah.
Because it is that Kevin Spacey crippleness combined with a penguin shuffle.
Yeah.
That make everyone look down on him, but actually underestimate what he's truly capable of. This isn't the Penguin running around with umbrellas that can blow shit up. I mean, this is the Sopranos Penguin. And I think the way Colin Farrell plays it is pitch perfect. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Danny DeVito in the live action as the Penguin. And I think he's absolutely fantastic in that Tim Burton incarnation.
Yeah.
But man, this is so good.
Yeah, I really want to talk about that limp. Colin Farrell never plays the limp like this is the Penguin Shuffle. He plays it as just a guy who is injured. But then if you think about it, oh no, a penguin shuffles, and that looks kind of like what a penguin shuffle would look like.
Yes.
It never becomes like a calling card. It's just that the fact that the character has got this foot thing and he can't walk, so he walks like that.
And it makes total sense because in the world of the mafia, that's the first thing everyone's going to pick up on, and then that's the first nickname they're going to give you, right?
Colin Farrell has just repeatedly blown me away this last 2 years. When he first showed up in The Batman as Penguin, I thought I completely and constantly forgot that it was him. And then his turn as the private detective investigator Sugar in Apple TV's show, I really thought he was fantastic in that. I thought Colin Farrell's control of cool and charm and sort of ability to go violent is beautiful in Sugar. He's great.
The man can do no wrong, man. From Inisherin to
Inisherin was
Sugar to this, he is on a real streak.
Yeah.
In the series as well, I think Jamie Lawson, who plays Bella Real, is the mayor who reprises her role. However, John Turturro is not Carmine Falcone. He's been replaced by Mark Strong.
Yes.
Of course, Carmine Falcone is dead, so it's only going to be flashback sequences lah.
It was just a scheduling thing. I mean, we get Mark Strong though.
We've only seen episode 1 of 8, and this is an absolutely fantastic pilot episode. It really made us want more, and everything was put together so well. In the sense that it really stayed true to the tone of this new Batman series. That was one. The production value, the acting, the music, which is made by Giacchino's son.
Oh, really?
So Michael Giacchino did the movie. Mick Giacchino, his son, did the soundtrack for this one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The music was really cool. Everything was wonderful and just plays out really, really well. I mean, I have no notes. This is one of those rare TV shows where I'm watching it and I'm like, I want to know what happens next. Give me episode 2. I can't wait for next week. But also, boy, you've got your finger on all of the right ways to do a spin-off and grow out this world.
If you're not a Batman fan, this show could still be for you because it's not a show about Batman. This is a show about a gangster. So unless you don't like gangster shows, then that's fine.
But even so, saying this is a show about gangsters, it's like saying The Sopranos is a show about gangsters when it isn't really a show about gangsters, right?
Yeah, it's not.
It's
not.
about the human condition. It's
Yeah.
about one man's rise to power. I mean, there is a new character in this, Vic Aguilar, who the Penguin takes in under his wing, pun intended. And it's like a training day type situation with the both of them. And I think that is your surrogate. Vic is your surrogate into this world. And of course, all this is that it is a character study into who this version of the Penguin is. Who is Oz Cobb? And it shows us things we've never seen before. And I think that's what's exciting about this, because it shows us an up-and-coming Penguin. There is a sequence where he goes back home to visit his mother, which is absolutely fucking fantastic, and gives us so much insight into who this character is. Like when his mother grabs him by the face and is like, "You are the man." And I'm just like, "Whoa, this is both creepy and cool," right?
Yeah.
There is so much happening here that is interesting and new and fascinating and doesn't just recreate what we've already seen in the comics.
Yeah.
It grows it out. Like that's what the best shows or best adaptations of comic books should do, and is what I'm looking for, right? It's taking the core principles of a character, the mood, the tone, everything we liked about the character, and then putting an interesting spin on it, which is what Lauren LaFranc seems to be doing with this.
Yeah, and not do what the fucker did with the Joker, which is just...
I'm holding judgment until I see
No.
Folia do.
No, I disagree. I think that's... No, for me, it's not. It's not. It's not the Joker. It's a Joker. Why? It doesn't... Why is there a kid Bruce Wayne? Fuck off and die. It's not important. All of that ruined it for me. Like, I think if it was just a movie about this crazed person who does crazy things, Taxi Driver style, I'd be like, oh, cool. That is a real study of the human condition and trying to survive in New York in the 70s. But then you call it the Joker. Then you throw in a Bruce Wayne story there. Just like, then why? No, he's not the Joker. The Joker doesn't exist without the Batman. So fuck off and die.
Glad you're going into next week's movie with an open mind, Bahir.
I'm not. It's not. My mind is not open. Fuck that shit. No.
Stay tuned for our review of Joker Folia do next week.
Everything about it is set up to be that Joker, but it's not. So it doesn't work.
Instead, go watch The Penguin.
Instead, go watch The Penguin.
It is showing on Astro, on Unify TV, on HBO Go, on Max if you happen to be listening to us from the US. It is available in many, many places. Only the first episode is out. New episodes drop weekly. We highly recommend it. It just has so much potential to be even cooler than what it already is. Let us know what you thought of episode 1. You know how to reach out. Goggler MY, all of our social media feeds. You can also email us on podcast@goggler.my or send us a WhatsApp on the Goggler hotline, 012-524-5208. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Goggler Podcast.